seeking out the truth is one of the main purposes of journalism. Our role is to truthfully report and evaluate the events that affect the lives of those in society. As journalists, we won't be trusted unless we adhere to the truth.
The media have a duty to be impartial in order to report fairly and without bias. They should be worrying less about how many copies of their exciting story they will be able to sell and more about the reliability of their facts. But we all know that real journalism can sometimes be expensive when agency copy is regularly available and cheap. Does manufacturing a story necessarily mean it's easier to access? And isn't this just an excuse?
The key, our remit is to try and work for quality, transparency and accountability news on behalf of the public, and so the site's really aimed at the public. The secondary purpose, I guess, of the site is to try and act as a catalyst for more transparency in the relationship between PR and journalism, because it's a relationship that's pretty hidden from public view, and certainly many people, they're aware of it, they're not aware of the extent of it. It has also led to lots and lots of discussion you've probably seen, but there's been many people online and social media and blogs and everywhere else talking about this and talking about the issue and talking about how to do something about it.
I don't really know if I trust any news I get from any newspaper.
Very, very little. Very little, yeah. As in a minority.
The Scottish Daily Mail.
It's to sell papers a lot of the news.
The Metro's less biased than the Sun or the Daily Mail.
The Sun just seems to have all these elaborate stories and good Jack and Ori stuff for bedtime really, so.
The Mail is as good as you're going to get.
I don't know that I trust tabloids like the Sun and things.
It's kind of the same old story regurgitated.
Journalism has been around for a long time. Back in the 1920s, Edward Bernays was writing about the manipulation of the habits and opinions of the masses. Wasim Zakir was a BBC journalist responsible for coining the term churnalism. So now, in 2011, Martin Moore and Nick Davies warn us of the lazy efforts being made by today's media.
Although those in professional communications and the press may be aware of this unspoken flaw, it remains concealed from the wider public. Chris Atkins, a film director with a track record of successful hoaxes, wanted to explore how easy it was to get fake news published. He invented a product called the chastity garter, to be worn by women when their partners were away. Should the woman's pulse raise above 120 BPM, a text message would automatically be sent to her partner. It wouldn't take Woodward and Burnside to see the flaws in the story, yet it proved irresistible to some of the press. The story then went global, showcasing the chastity garter all over the world. Another fakery involved the marketing of the Panazzle, supposedly the male answer to the female crystal beauty trend of Vajazzle, made famous by the Only Way is Essex girls.
But it was Atkins' bogus Facebook campaign calling for the return of the Prime Minister's new cat, Larry, that has been most successful. Within 24 hours of the site having been created, the Mail ran the story, shortly followed by the Metro. But the entirely fictitious story received the most attention in Gabby Logan's BBC 5 Live show in a light-hearted slot before the 1 o'clock news. Discussing the story with Gabby was Chief Political Correspondent John Pienaar. The deontological approach of Churnalism.com's Martin Moore and Chris Atkins to bust the industry's flaws could be perceived as an attack on the overburdened journalist. Does the responsibility rest with the journalist to not bow to temptation and rely on the press releases for stories that he or she can research on their own? After all, press releases are only intended to point journalists in the right direction, giving them a lead in a story they should really be producing themselves.
Our hope is that we will start to see, particularly in online news outlets, different a change in behaviour such that people are actually sourcing press releases much better simply by being more transparent, then they're providing a better service to their readers.